26 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maupe Ogun-Yusuf. And I'm Ayo, marking it's 27 degrees here in Lagos, and it's this 26th day in the month of August 2026. I bid you welcome to this Wednesday morning. Well, Ayo, we did tell our viewers yesterday that we will be tracking for them the update on the Benin-Agbo-Asaba road, which has fallen under a gross state of disrepair. Yesterday, the Minister for Works went to that particular portion of road. At the same time, he was accompanied by lawmakers as well as the state governor who were with him, and the people who were on the road at that time also got to air their mind. So we are bringing you updates on what he had to say. He seemed to be blaming the concessionaires who were also there on the road at that time. They were saying that, oh, they had tried to do some remedial work, but that the weather has stopped them. He blamed them for being technically incompetent, which raises quite a number of questions. It wasn't just that road. The Ekiti-Ondo road as well also came into focus. This time, the Minister of State for Works also visited that stretch of road, promising some relief or reprieve for the people using that particular stretch. But if you missed the story, we did promise to bring you an update, and here is the update.
Recent outcries from residents and commuters along the Benin-Agbo road have dominated public attention, with severe traffic gridlock reportedly leaving motorists stranded for hours and in some cases stretching journeys into days. On Tuesday, the Minister of Works, accompanied by an entourage from the Presidency and the National Assembly, arrived in Edo State to see the situation firsthand and assess the condition of the troubled road. Governor Monday Okpewolo, alongside top state government officials, joined the inspection tour. Although the road is currently passable following a swift intervention, the visit quickly became more than an inspection. Residents and commuters were given an opportunity to speak directly to the authorities, airing their grievances over the hardship caused by the prolonged deterioration of the road.
How can a contractor say he don't know how to do drainages? You do drainage, you come, you expect all you ask for, also hear from. So Abudu, then right now, people are dying, suffering, castigating the name of the governor, when the contractor does not know his work. We don't need this contractor, minister, sir. Let them give us another contractor.
Their complaints paint a picture of commuters trapped in frustrating delays, businesses disrupted, and residents bearing the brunt of a road crisis that has continued for far too long.
He has no road. Majority of government highway is dilapidated, it's destroyed. No movement, nothing. I've spent 4 days, good 4 days in this thing, just from year to year.
The concessionaire handling the projects attributes the delays to inclement weather, saying adverse weather conditions affected the pace of work.
There are so many bad spots on the road, and we did this palliative work for some months so that we can clear and make this particular road very motorable. Now, we empathize apparently with the people of the state. However, we are wrestling with weather.
But the explanation fails to convince the Minister of Works. He describes the justification as inadequate, insisting that with the right measures and timely intervention, the road should never have deteriorated to its present condition.
Did you not see the road very well before you decided? You ran through every way to manipulate the process, and you got the job. Now you are complaining because you lack technical competence.
As tension simmered among residents and youth, Governor Monday Okpewolo appeals for calm, urging the people of the area to remain patient while efforts continue to address the road's challenges.
You have to pull head by that also.
Yes, sir.
You have to pull our.
Yes, sir.
When you have a father that listens to you, what do you do?
The inspection team then moved to other critical road corridors, visiting sections of Saple Road in Benin City, where reconstruction work is currently ongoing. The message from the inspection is unmistakable. The era of excuses must give way to action, as residents demand roads that keep them moving, not roads that bring their lives and livelihoods to a standstill.
If there's anything I'm glad about in this case, Mapwe, it is that the minister didn't go there just, by himself. He went with members of the National Assembly. He also went with the governor of the state. Now, remember when we were talking about this yesterday, we pretty much mentioned each of these institutions. We also talked about the NDDC, and I think part of the entourage was also the NDDC. Whether or not they had any role or have any role to play in this, that's another matter altogether. As our reporter has said, we're not interested in the excuses, we are not interested in the reasons. There is a problem, it's an age-long problem, solve it, and everyone is happy. Welfare of Nigerians, that's one of the things that government is committed to doing and must be done. That's my take, Mark.
Fortunately, Ayo, we are in another campaign season where politicians come to seek re-election. Some of them come to seek a fresh election. Some of them come to seek re-election, telling you what they have done, what they intend to do to make your lives better. And that's essentially what we're sinking our teeth into this morning. We're starting basically with that. And we have in our studios this morning Dr. Sunday Dare, who is Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public Communications. It is good to see you in our studios. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mopi. Thank you for having me.
Well, clearly, last week we did kick off this campaign season with conversations around subsidy. Yes, it's exactly a week now that conversation started. I'm sure that has been, we certainly will get there, but this came to the fore just while that subsidy debate was going on. And one of the very instructive things about what exactly the gains, what should be the gains from the removal of subsidy is that we shouldn't see situations like this on our roads, that we should have a lot more money to be able to fix roads, fix our health care, put money in education, etc. But clearly, we're still failing in many aspects, which is still leading to the suffering of citizens. How does your the administration of President Bola Tinubu explain what exactly happened along stretches that we have now seen in both Benin to Asaba, as well as stretches of Ekiti to Ondo?
Well, I think that, first, these are isolated cases. And we all know by the nature of road construction, during rainy season, you encounter problems like this. When it also comes to constructing the roads, whether rehabilitation or building new roads, you also will know the local content policy, the need to engage competent local contractors. And whatever played out yesterday, we had all the stakeholders there. And it's important that even the contractor came out, even though he gave excuses, it showed a failure on the part. Government has a responsibility to identify the roads that need to be fixed. Government has a responsibility to provide the funding. And then the next responsibility goes to the contractors to do what is necessary. And what we saw yesterday, the minister, the National Assembly members, and other key stakeholders going there in record time, right on the spot. And I think that's what good governance is about, responding as quickly and as swiftly as possible, putting the blame where it is, and requesting for immediate action. Beyond that, we see efforts in other places. I said this is isolated, but we have quite a number of other roads where there are no complaints, where the roads have been fixed, So when it comes to good governance, when it comes to infrastructural provision, it is a progressive work.
You say record time. I heard that particular term will be held suspect, because record time would have been that we anticipate that such a situation will come. For instance, we know that we will experience a rainy season. We know that such a thing, was most likely to happen because it's happened before. It happened during the Buhari administration, this particular stretch of road. It clearly, we did not anticipate it. And people had already suffered. According to a number of them, they had spent 4 days. So clearly, a record will be very suspect in terms of
without making any excuses. You just mentioned it. I think that this particular road has been quite a difficult one, and it has transcended about 3 or 4 presidents. trying to make sure the road is fixed. I think what's important, Mope, when I said record time, there's always a project timeline. That's what I meant by record time. And because of the rains, the contractor talked about palliatives. And what we see in this instance is that whatever palliative work it did on the roads were not professionally done, very clearly. And we know that the Minister of Works is going to take some punitive action against them. And that will serve as a warning to several other contractors across the length and breadth. Don't forget, apart from the local content policy, we've had the Engineering Society and all professional groups making a very strong case that we have competent Nigerian engineers. And I have no doubt about it. But then when you're given the job to do, you know that you hold as a responsibility to the people who will use the road and also to the government who gave you the job.
Yeah, but I think that also raises further questions, because I heard the minister say something to the effect that he was technically incompetent, which raises, how did we come about getting an incompetent contractor to do such an important stretch of road?
Well, without holding forth for the minister, Mope, you also know that there's a procurement process. You present your documents, the work you have done. You bring your engineers to articulate what they would do. Oftentimes, you also find a gulf between what is presented and the procurement process in terms of competences, and then when it's translated into practical. And, you know, incidences like this, you cannot really avoid them. I think what's important is that perhaps the level of technical competency should be looked at again, vis-a-vis the nature of our roads, and the KPIs for those that would take these contracts should be reviewed. That's what's important going forward.
Do you think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has really been on top of things when it comes to that? Because this is not the only road. I mean, you've just said that even though you say that what I have cited are isolated incidents.
Yeah, it's a vast country.
It is
and
indeed.
You know,
and I was just going to say that I'm sure a lot of Nigerians
right
will disagree with you. I do recall that even just a few months ago, passing the some stretches of Kogi, you know, the federal roads in Kogi, have been quite a nightmare. I recall a friend of mine who tried to traverse that road and had to turn back. The traffic was unbearable. You know, the road was just impassable.
So oftentimes,
yes,
what we expect is 100% solution. And you know, solutions are progressive. I've traveled on the stretch with about 65 other journalists about 4 weeks ago. We went to Kogi State, and we saw the effort between Abuja, the Lokoja stretch, going down to Omara. Concrete road being built, different sections, some 20%, some 15%. And that's what happens with road construction. You build them in points, and eventually you join them. So you have stretches in which you have to travel on the old road with both cars coming in opposite direction, pending when you can switch to the one that's been completed. This is evidential. We saw them. Stretches have been done. And I think Nigerians will have to bear with that process of work. It's like a house construction. A house is not built in a day. It's progressive. The roof, until the roof comes on, the rain will still pour down on the building. And I think, is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on top of what's happening? Absolutely. We're talking about 5 legacy roads. We're talking about 320 roads across the length and breadth of our country. A massive infrastructural effort of road construction. I think that's appreciable. It shows a president that is really at top of the situation. Of course, why do you have ministers? Why are they assigned? So we see the Minister of Work assigned by Mr. President doing the work that is necessary to make sure that he fixes the roads in our country.
Just yesterday, we had on Senator Babafemi Ojodu. I'm sure that you must have seen some of the criticism that he's had for, you know, someone that he says he knows pretty well. He's worked with him in the past, as he's even had a relationship. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress, even though he said, oh, don't call me a chieftain of the APC. But we do know that his words carry weight within the party. And he, you know, had to call attention to certain things. He called attention to the Ekiti-Ondo road, where he said, oh, this road was awarded for over 90 billion naira. They promised a dualization. Only a single stretch has been delivered. It appears that even the stretch that was delivered is already failing, and he wanted clarity on whether this was what was promised, because what they read was a dualization. Of course, he also took up issue with a number of other things, such as the campaign list, which we will get to. But these are some of the things that Nigerians have noticed. Some Nigerians just notice it and keep quiet and say, well, it's government.
Well,
but some are bold enough to call it out and say, are you sure that the president is actually on top of what is happening within his cabinet?
The president is on top. Again, let me say, this country is a vast country. Beyond the road construction, there are efforts ongoing in about 9 different other critical sectors, in oil and gas, in health, in education, in agriculture. All of this at the behest and the directive of the president. So it's not just about road construction alone. Having said that, Baba Femi Ojudu was once my editor at the News and Tempo. We also know that he belongs to the other side. He's been writing...
the other side? What other side?
He's not on our side. Of course, he said if the president wins the election, he will return to his farm. What he did not tell us was that he will also return to his old profession as a journalist who will write and also criticize government. But let me say this. I think it's important that...
sorry. Are you saying there are factions within the APC? Are there factions?
No, we're talking about Baba
APC?
Femi Ojudu. He's clearly not a friend of... Even in his writings, it's been very clear. He's not a friend of this government, this present APC government. And that's different from... I don't know where he really belongs right now. I just know that he writes a lot of articles, criticizes the government. I've read a few of what he writes, almost virtually what he writes. And I think what's important in the case in point is he has raised a few fundamental issues, and I'm sure the Ministry of Work will respond to those issues as the case may be. But Maupe, what you cannot disagree with is that you have a president and a government, an APC government, that is at work making efforts to meet the challenges facing this country, from road construction to providing quality education, to freeing up resources for our subnationals, to local government autonomy. The list is just long, to providing social safety nets. Again, it's a question of scalability, and it takes time. We're just 3.5 years down the road. But we have seen the president and his team put in place policies and programs that, if fully implemented to the level of scale that is necessary, we will think things turn around.
I was going to take you up on the issue of subsidy, but I know that Ayo has a few questions for you, so let me go to him first. Ayo.
Thank you, Mokwe. You know, Dr. Dari, the issues that you have raised are quite germane, but let me begin from the scorecard. As Mokwe, quoted, the Ministry of Finance came up with some numbers and all. And this whole subsidy conversation that is coming up again is also referenced in that document. For instance, part of the document highlighted the fact that the salaries, the increased salaries, that government now pays has also been taken up by the increased wages, that the federal government now pays. The question around that for me is, it would seem like the federal government generally do not quite communicate well. And I'm glad that you are in the media, so you would understand. Most of the time, we have information put out, but they are just information. They are like raw materials in the market. Anyone can buy any resources. It's the use of them that makes any difference. So when it comes to public communication, there are those who would say that the federal government has generally failed to communicate significantly until there is a blowback. Is there any plan? And I'm glad you're also essay to the president on public communication. What exactly is the plan about communicating, not just informing Nigerians, but communicating with Nigerians about whatever it is that government is doing?
Ayo, thank you for your question. I think the government has never stopped communicating. In fact, one of the pillars of good governance is, a very robust communication effort. And when you talk about communication, you talk about being able to cascade that information to different levels of the society. So yes, there is, because when you have engagements at the level of ministers coming to speak about their work, particularly when you had the scorecard at a time that was necessary, which marked the beginning of the campaign period, there's never been any time where government policies and initiatives are not explained beyond the newspaper headlines. several other, traditional, no traditional levels of communication. And oftentimes we just look at the English level communication. There's a lot of communication taking place in different languages, in Hausa, in Igbo, in Yoruba, of which we are aware. We have a network of about 350 community radio stations across the length and breadth of this country who provide this information in 7 to 8 different languages. So it also depends on where you're looking, because if you're just tied only to the newspaper headlines or what you see on the networks. So beyond that, you see even the president, when he receives people, when meetings hold, the president, who is the chief marketer, the chief communicator of this administration, is able to speak to numbers, is able to speak to his programs, is able to speak even with empathy, connecting with the sacrifices and support of the Nigerian people. So when it comes to communication, it's the continuum, it's not static. You don't get the quantum of communication once, and it's also progressive. As issues arise, government is expected to respond. And when government responds to those issues, most times, that is communication. Oftentimes, government is also not reactive. We're proactive. We go ahead. And when you do that, sometimes they will say, oh, government is lying. Then you move into the arena of selective amnesia or selective auditioning.
Perhaps, Dr. Dare, and I apologize for butting in. I sincerely apologize. But perhaps that blowback really is a sign that maybe the communication is not complete. Let me cite the precise example that I'm citing. When the Minister of Finance spoke to Nigerians about subsidy savings and all of that, one thing that he said was that the wage adjustments, alone were nearly double the federal government's subsidy savings. Now, a good number of people are still asking, where are the subsidy savings going? Up until the minister spoke, people are asking they are still asking that question. Unfortunately, it would seem like whatever explanation, information going out from government is not really hitting home. Minister, I'm sure you know, Dr. Dare, that information is not communication. We get the information, but until it is cooked enough for people to understand and assimilate and accept that this is communication, I'm not sure we can say that communication has gone through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly, my apologies, sir, especially when you now say that people will hear something and still say it is not true. That a good number of people will tell you that it means that people are not persuaded that whatever information is coming from government is not hitting home.
So you cross the line when you say people are not persuaded, because facts are sacred. So if government says we're doing X number of stuff, we've put in place a policy to help our young people, and people are not persuaded by that, does that change the strength of that policy? No. Again, people have the legitimacy to decide whether they will believe government or not. I agree. You put out information, then you communicate, you try to explain that. And that's what this government is about on a continuous basis. Do you get people persuaded at the first blow? No. That's why it has to be a continuum. And the subsidy debate will never go away. It will, in fact, outlive this government. But then, let me make that point, which has been muted for a while. We were borrowing. This country was borrowing to pay for subsidy. So it wasn't as if a pot of money was immediately created. In fact, under the previous administration, we had sold barrels and barrels of our oil to be able to get money to continue to subsidize the PMS that was coming into the country. Again, because of the policies, the macroeconomic policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have had the fiscal space expand, providing extra resources that is going to various sectors of the economy, including also paying the wages, the pensioners, giving more money to the governors at the FAC level, freeing up other resources, improving from the tax regime that we have now. We have tax to GDP moving from 10 to 12%. So the macroeconomic basis, fundamentals of our economy has been strengthened and properly restructured. Again, Ayo, you agree with me? You can't build something on nothing. And that's something that we need to build upon, is being done. Again, the work of governance, whether it's even communication, whether it's fixing our roads, whether it's agriculture, is a continuum. And this administration is meeting these challenges.
Okay. Well, there is a critical thing that a good number of people have spoken to and are still speaking about, and I'm sure that Malcolm would still probably take you further on the subsidy removal conversation, which a presidential candidate is already speaking to. And that is the impact of that subsidy removal on a host of Nigerians, which has catalyzed, so to speak, cost of living and its impact on people. We've heard the president say at different fora that, look, the different communities, monarchs, clergymen, everyone should be asking governors, you know, about mitigating the impact of whatever it is that is happening in their communities. So the question then is, while the federal government has largely, and to a good number of people has happened, made the macroeconomic environment of Nigeria better, the microeconomic environment for many Nigerians are still quite questionable. And so there are those who are asking, isn't there anything the president can do to ensure that the governors do the needful to mitigate the cost of living on Nigerians? Because it will definitely be an issue as we build up to the next elections.
Absolutely, Ayo. I think you've touched on a vital issue of the moment. I think that what the president at the federal level had the duty to bake a bigger cake. That is, expand the fiscal space. He brought in a new tax regime. Our tax laws, we've seen our revenue go up through the revenue service. We've seen the reserves that we have, both net and gross reserves, go up. We stand at 52 billion in record time. So the president has met the challenge and the duty of baking a bigger cake. And what's that cake? It's the FAC. And then the data is out there. When you look at what states were getting before, 1.6 billion, 2 billion, that same state is getting 16 billion. Now, there's an executive list, there's a concurrent list. State governors have executive powers. They come in, they get this allocation. They have responsibilities. The federal government has responsibilities and has met them. The state governors have responsibilities. And the question to interrogate is, are they meeting those responsibilities? And the president, as the leader of government, has called upon them to say, please apply these resources to improve the lives of the citizens in your states. To a large extent, that is what the best president can do at best. Continue to make sure that the allocations increase. The one in July is recorded to be the highest they've ever had. And I think the debate must also shift from that. The radar must move from federal government to the state government. Let's have that conversation. Let's interrogate them. Let them show what they are doing and what they have done. On the part of federal government, we can point to quite a number of things. We can tell you where these monies are channeled. Look at Nelfon, for instance, a runaway success, 1.3 million young people. Just last week at FEC, the president actually channeled every liquid funds coming recovered by EFCC to go directly into Nelfon. He also said, you know, those that have shares, unclaimed shares and dividends over time, channeled to Nelfon. It's never happened. Those monies are hidden in private, in very funny cloned accounts in the past. That you look at also the conditional cash transfer, targeted for 15 million. About 11 million are already benefiting from that. And quite a number of others. So you can see the federal government meeting its responsibilities. You look at the NG cares. We have seen advanced financing, just announced about 6 weeks ago by Mr. President, $3.01 billion. And recall that Okonjo-Iweala, who now heads the WTO, did say very clearly, to say what the structural adjustments made, the structural reforms in place, are indeed in tune. But what is needed is that we should expand the social safety nets and programs. And that is what the federal government is doing. Now, if the states complement the effort of the federal government, then we will see that critical development and help. The micro you talk about will increase, and people can benefit tremendously.
You say if the states. It's interesting that about 30 states, if not more, at least are members, their governors are members
31.
Of the, yeah, I know you know the, the actual figure, member
because
of
we're
the
tracking,
APC.
we're tracking it.
Yes, indeed. And I think you even make my point further. if 31 state governors, as we speak, are members of the All Progressives Congress, All Progressives Congress, there are questions as to how it is that the party cannot state very clearly and categorically what it expects of state governors and in which trajectory or in which direction governors ought to be looking. Governors ought to be persuaded to move in to make sure that there is relief for the Nigerian people.
Well, Mope, let me just rephrase that conversation to say that the assumption that the state governors are not doing anything is faulty. They are. The question really is that what is the scalability? What's the scale of that? And are they investing the resources in the right sectors that will impact the lives of the people? The issue really is about how does it impact the ordinary citizen in terms of health, in terms of education, and all of that. Yes, what is expected of the states is clearly stated in the New Hope agenda. I have traveled to 3 regions, the North Central, the Northeast, and the Southeast. And we have seen quite a number of state projects and also federal government projects plugging into each other at that level. We've seen efforts at road construction, we've seen efforts at healthcare, we've seen efforts in agriculture, we've seen efforts in skills development, which also fits into the larger renewed hope agenda that was promised by Mr. President. And I think what should be our interrogation is, what is the pace? What is the quality? What is the level? Are we getting the quantum of resources? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? And that's what we should interrogate.
Yeah, who should interrogate it? I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm asking questions of not just what the president is doing. I'm asking questions of what the party, the APC, is doing. Because even the president, interestingly, even the president doesn't seem to be impressed by what the governors are doing.
Well, the president is just calling on them to do more.
Exactly.
And that's what he should do. Say, you need to do more.
Said, tell them to do more. No, exactly. Do more and affect the lives of Nigerians where it matters.
And I believe they're beginning to do that.
Beginning to do that at the twilight of the administration. Is it now that campaigns are here?
Some of the projects we saw, and I've been to about maybe 14 states, some of the projects we saw have a lifespan of 2 years. So it did not just begin a few months ago. And I, honestly, we went with about 65 journalists, videos, this is evidential. Again, when it comes to good governance, it's also about the scalability. What is the quantum?
Yeah, do you think it's a lack of understanding of, prioritizing the areas that truly affect the lives of people? Because let's be frank, we have a cost of living crisis on our hands. I'm going to read out, this is a critique, because as a result of this particular conversation that has just been reignited, quite a number of columnists have now written. Yes, have now written. I'm sure you must have read quite a number of them. I'm going to read that of Waziri Adio, who is a former DG of NATI. Yeah. And he says something to the effect that, yes, there is no coordinated and faithfully implemented plan for cushioning the well-anticipated harsh effects of the reform, especially on the poor. The cash transfer of a meager 75,000 naira in total to 15 million households has been poorly and shamefully implemented. The commitment to lowering food prices has been half-hearted. These are things that the Tinubu administration came in guns a-blazing, let me borrow President Trump's words, to try and do. People thought, okay, if you try and do this, even the CNG plan was something that people thought, okay, well, if, petrol is too expensive, perhaps if you put a CNG tank in your car, maybe you should still be able to get about. But people who use CNG say it is rarely available. I live along an area where you see CNG queues, and the queues always form a snake. It is usually quite lengthy. So there are questions as to what exactly has this administration faithfully implemented in trying to mitigate the cost of living crisis that has now accompanied these reforms that they have started.
Okay, let me respond. First, there are no quick fixes. When you're faced with challenges, when you have to solve problems, there are no quick fixes. But the starting point for development experts is that you must have a plan. You must have a policy. And then policies and plans have a span. And then you implement gradually. And even during implementation, you have that flexibility to review. Let me take the CNG, for instance. The CNG is progressing. Of course, we expect that more stations, people will spend less hours. But what we've had in the last 2 years is trying to build that backbone that is needed for the CNG. It was announced as a policy, but to build that backbone across the length and breadth of the country takes some time. As we speak now, the fueling stations for the CNG has increased by 35%. And if that increase continues, by the time 2 years down the road, we're looking at about 70% coverage. That is progress. So when somebody writes and talks in absolute terms that there's no plan, excuse me, the CNG is a plan. The NELFON is a plan. The legacy roads we're building is a plan. The NG Cares is a plan. So you don't talk in absolute terms, there's no plan. You track the implementation of that plan. If you have criticism about it, profile suggestions in that direction. But to say there's no plan, no coordinated plan, no.
I don't think that's what he said. So there's no coordinated and faithfully implemented.
But implementation is afoot. When you talk about the Benin or a road, for instance, somebody identified that road. Somebody put it in the budget. The president approved the budget. Funds were released. Contractors were moved to site. That is a faithful implementation that is now aborted because of the technical competence of the person. When you talk about NELFON that came on, that is a plan. There is a faithful implementation. That's why 1.3 million Nigerian youths are benefiting, and more of them are still applying.
Mrs. Diary, you do know
there's an implementation afoot.
I mean, it's the fact that Nigerians had to cry out over that road. That's how we got to know.
But again, I said that's just one of so many other roads.
That's the situation. So until Nigerians scream about what exactly they are facing in certain areas where you might think that there is a faithfully implemented plan, we might not exactly know.
Well, you know, Mope, you also know that governance is all inclusive. It's also important that citizens also play a role. When you see something going wrong, you speak up. Now, when government does not respond, that's why you have a problem. No government at every time knows exactly what's happening everywhere in the country. But then when it comes to the fore, when it comes to the media, when citizens crowd, and then the government does not respond, then you have a crisis. But in this place, you have a responsive leadership.
Well, I do know that we still have, it's just 1 week down. We still have a few more months.
5 months ahead of us.
Yes, indeed, to continue to have this conversation. Yes, indeed. And I know that even in this time, Nigerians will certainly be sending their responses to what it is that you're telling them. But we have to thank you. It's a pity
Subsidy,
we
you never got
subsidy. We didn't get to the campaign council list. We understand it's been withdrawn. Can you confirm that to us? No,
the campaign council list has not been withdrawn. As it is with every other list, there's a room for subcommittees. Those subcommittees have not been formed. And so many other names will come into that subcommittee. So that list has not been withdrawn. The APC has issued a statement to that effect yesterday. That list stands, but of course there will be adjustments. The list is not cast in stone, just like every other list. Subcommittees will be
So it's subject to review?
The subcommittees will be, not a review, just adjustments where necessary. But importantly, subcommittees will be formed.
Yeah, reluctant to use the word review, but adjustments.
When you say review, it's wholesale. This is not wholesale. Adjustments are just minor adjustments here and there.
Well, I think it's a matter of semantics now. But we have to thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. Dr. Sunday Diary, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public Communication. And he's been speaking with us here in our Abuja studios. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be speaking with a presidential candidate. You find out who when we come back from this break. Stay with us. Oh, yes, indeed. We have started speaking with the candidates for the 2027 general elections. And one of them who will be seeking your votes come 2027 is Dr. Moses Adebisi, who's the presidential candidate of the Democratic Leadership Alliance, the DLA. It's good to see you in our studios this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program. Well, I'm sure that, I'm just looking, and I would say, or would you say that it is fair to say that your party is little well known, the Democratic Alliance, the Democratic Leadership Alliance? What do you think its chances will be come 2027?
Yeah, the chances will be because of the providence that got the party registered. If you look at from 2022 down to 2024, all the people that approached INEC for party registrations were about 171 altogether, the first phase. And the only party that was registered that met every of the requirement of the INEC in terms of the people, the structure, the system, is the DLA, Democratic Leadership Alliance. Although we are coming last as a political party, but we are actually going to come first when it comes to the victory in 2027. You can actually take my word for it.
How do you intend to achieve that?
Because of the system we've been able to put in place, because of the structure, the people, the different hierarchical orders of leadership and structural formations, the machineries, the mechanisms, everything that got us to beat every of the bottleneck and the embargoes that is placed on political parties by INEC. We've been able to succeed, without no fracas. Did you hear our voice? Did you hear us chanting anywhere? Did you see us organizing protests anywhere? Administratively, strategically, methodically, we've been able to beat all the bottleneck and we got in the system. Now that we're in the system, let's see what happens in 2027. The Nigerian people are beside us, yes.
The Nigerian people, do they know you?
Absolutely, yes. I should be the most popular youth in Nigeria when we talk about leadership governance, the contributions to the wellness of this country as a nation. By virtue of my work that I have done over the years, we've been able to touch lives of millions of people personally. No, we're not playing to the gallery. On the ground, with a submarine approach that we've actually followed till we got here. So we are very good with what we have on ground as we speak now.
Okay, well, let's go to your plans, because every politician always says, oh, the people would vote for me, the people know me, we have the people on the ground. The taste of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating, and we'll see what happens come 2027. But should you manage to eventually scale through and become the people's choice, what exactly are you selling to the Nigerian people?
Beautiful. So far, so good. All the people that are currently leading the country, they are only following, they're looking for the solutions to all the problems on ground. They are, the problem will happen, then they quickly go and look for the solutions to it. So we have been able to painstakingly study the Nigeria's problem. We've identified where the real issues are, and then, strategically, we've provided solutions to all these problems completely. Officially, Nigeria is a developing country, if we should say it that way. And then crisis is an emblem of underdevelopment, crisis. So we have seen that for us to put an end to all the crises in this country, we need to put Nigeria on the path of the newly industrialized country. And there are 7 pillars of world economic dominance officially if we should go that way. Once we start the very first one, then every other thing will fall in place. And the first one is national psyche reengineering architecture. For example, all the people in Nigeria do not see themselves as the people of common destiny. You see my brothers in the north, you see my brothers in the southeast, for example, and you see my brothers in the southwest, that's the Igbo, Yoruba, and the Hausas, the Fulanis. So everybody is trying to defend their own agenda, their personal interest, and all of that. So there is need for something to put all of us together and make us to become the people of common and equal destiny. And that is what we intend to achieve first. Because if we say that we are going ahead with the development of this country, without first solving the problem of our disunity, the problem of our differences and all of that, then as we are building something somewhere, another group of people are somewhere destroying what we are building. So the first thing we need to do, we are going to do officially, is to make Nigerian people to become the people of the same destiny, the same goal, the same vision, the same mission, the same assignment, and the same ideology. So all of us have to be ingrained in our cultural immersions officially as people. So
how do you intend to do that?
Yeah.
Because we've seen attempts to, try and carve out a new constitution. That those who say, oh, we can't move forward without a new constitution. Is that what you subscribe to?
We're not just talking about the amendment, and we're talking about the complete overhaul of every of the things that make Nigerians to be divided. So every of the things that make Nigerians to be divided is what we are coming to first remove completely, so that we can all know we are Nigerian and we are Nigerian. That's all. And we are going to do this through the religious merge. We need to merge our people together, make us to understand that both the Muslim and the Christian, we are under the same umbrella, serving the same God. Our traditionalists, the same thing too. We go into the culture through our traditional rulers, try to make them to speak to their people, ensure that they all see that no matter what anybody do, God has the reason He created us and put us right here in this country. And there's nothing anybody else can do. We have gone to several places. Like I live in America. I've taken thousands of people to Canada, America, and the United Kingdom myself. Empowerment. I've sponsored thousands of people to Canada free of charge. But still, there is no how you can even fit fully into the Western system. Black person is a black person. I'm originally a Nigerian man. Originally a Nigerian. No matter where I go, Nigeria is my home. So all of us would come to that understanding first, that Nigeria is our home. And by the time we come to that, then we can now move into the next thing on our agenda. So that is the plan.
Let me go to my colleague, Ayo. I know that he might also have further questions for you. Ayo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Malkwe. Mr. Davis, one of the questions that naturally comes to me is the funding of political parties. Your party, the Democratic Leadership Alliance, you call it. How is the party funded? How old is that party?
We officially conceptualized the agenda of liberty for the Nigerian people in 2017. And since that time, we've created what we call the Technocratic Cabinet of the Democratic Leadership Alliance in the UK, in America, in Germany, in Canada, in Ireland, in China, and in the United Arab Emirates for the Saudis, for all our people from the Arabian world. So we have Nigerian people that do not want to continue to watch Nigerians being led on a path of retrogressive evolutions. So we've been able to assemble the team together, and by God's grace, we have Nigerian people, at least some couple of well-to-do group of youth in Nigeria that are like, you know what, we have this assignment to carry out. The reason God made us to come at this critical point in time is so that we can provide the real solutions to the Nigeria's problems. And all of us are putting our effort, resources, and everything together to ensure that we make it happen. By the way, Nigerians are used to a conventional political system, but we have come with a politics unusual. In the days ahead, you will get to understand what we are talking about. So it's not going to be politics of money, politics of the money bags. It's not going to be politics of buying the people's conscience, of doing the crowd feelers.
My apologies, Mr. Davis, and simply because we are really running out of time. I just want to know, does your party have a funding mechanism that Nigerians can understand, okay, this is how the Democratic Leadership Alliance is funded?
Absolutely, yes. And that is through the contributions of every members of the party so far. And we are still calling forth every youth that are youthful in nature to come and join us as we put the resources together to make it happen in Nigeria.
Okay, now, you have spoken about things that you want to do and all. In the past 3 going to 4 years of this administration, what are the gaps that you think you can fill that the federal government is not doing anything about now? What are the structural changes that you are going to make or reverse from what the federal government has done so far?
The government of the day, as I'm allowed to actually say this, that they lack the knowledge of national development realistically. If you look at every of the policy that are implemented so far, every of the things that are done so far by the people that are currently piloting the affairs of this country, you will see that they've lost touch with reality. You know, if we should just go that route, they don't even know how much is the price of commodities in the market. This group of people that you see leading this country now, they don't feel what the common men feel anymore in Nigeria. And they are people of the past. They are people of the past. So it is the duty of these, our leaders now, to go and rest. Let we that are competent in knowledge, compassionate in character, disciplined in our conduct, with resolute commitment to the pursuit of this our purpose, come forward and let us come and take Nigeria to where it's supposed to be. Nigeria has always been coming at the back, at the back, at the back. It's time for we to push it forward and make it to become a country that every other person will be looking forward to. Nigeria currently is experiencing hardship. Nigerians, they are experiencing hardship officially. So, as this government, are they not aware? So what have they done to take away the hardship from the people? There is no war in Nigeria, but the city is dry. As the city is dry, what do you expect in the community? So there is no famine, no drought, but people do not have food to eat. There is no disenfranchisement. We are not under any official castrations by the international financial policy makers officially. We are not castrated financially in this country. But typical Nigerian people do not have money in their bank accounts. This is how to see that Nigeria is currently not working in the hand of this class of people. And Nigerian people need to now understand that before we can get to where we are supposed to be, we need to change the class of people that are currently leading this country and allow the new generations of leaders to step forward. Buhari called us lazy, but we want to prove now to our leaders currently that we are not lazy. We are here, and the time is ours.
Indeed. Well, we do know that we still have time to discuss, to get to the nitty-gritty of your 7 pillars. I imagine that you, having been a member of the Nigerian Liberty Movement and now with the Democratic Leadership Alliance, you have brought those 7 pillars which you marketed there along with you to the Democratic Leadership Alliance, and hopefully in the course of the campaign season we'll get to examine a few more of the 7 pillars of dominance which you marketed at the NLM. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Dr. Moses Adebisi is a presidential candidate, the Democratic Leadership Alliance. Thank you once more.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, that's where we draw the curtains on Sunrise Daily this beautiful Wednesday morning. It's a bit it's been raining a bit in Abuja. I don't know about Lagos, but please, when you do drive on our roads, be careful, pay attention and care about your next neighbor. Make the roads safer for all of our use. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo. Marking, it's not raining in Lagos yet, but maybe it's coming. Business Morning is on the hour. Enjoy the rest of your day.